Good evening. Welcome to the August 5th edition of the Downers Grove Village Council meeting. We're glad you've joined us here in council chambers. As is our tradition, we'll begin this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rosa, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Barnett,
Here.
Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit,
Here.
Commissioner Gilmartin,
Here.
Commissioner Tully,
Here.
Commissioner Davenport,
Here.
Commissioner Sarver,
Here.
Commissioner Rowe.
Here.
Welcome, everyone. Chris, you can hear us okay?
I can hear you fine, Mayor. Thank you.
Excellent. Is there a motion to allow electronic participation?
Mayor Barnett, I move to allow electronic participation in today's meeting.
Second.
Rosa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Tully,
Aye.
Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit,
Aye.
Commissioner Rowe,
Aye.
Commissioner Sarver,
Aye.
Commissioner Davenport,
Aye.
Mayor Barnett.
Aye. That motion passes. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you.
Item 3 on the agenda tonight is minutes of previous council meetings. Is there a motion?
Mayor Barnett, I move to approve the Village Council meeting minutes from July 15th, 2025 as presented.
Second.
Any comments from the council? Chris, I think for the meeting, I'll just keep going back to you after we circle the council.
Sounds good. No comments.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes unanimously. Item 4 is the public comments portion of the meeting. There are agendas on the wall to your and the audience right, a couple of counters over there. We've got a big crowd tonight, so I'll just read a couple of notes that we try to read periodically to remind people about how we try and run our meetings. There are several opportunities for public comment throughout the course of the meeting. The first, which we're about to come to, is titled Public Comments, and that is for items not on tonight's agenda. There are additional opportunities to comment at each item as we move through the agenda. Please remember, council meetings are not open debates. This is a council meeting open to the public, not a public meeting. While we seldom, if ever, cut people off, we do expect that people respect the time limit to allow everyone here this evening an opportunity to address the council if they wish. If you plan to speak, please keep the following in mind when you come down to the podium. First, state your name for the record. Second, address your comments to me as chair of the meeting. Keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Avoid repeating what others have already said. It's okay to say you agree with the previous speaker. In fact, you'll often hear council members do just that amongst ourselves. Please keep your comments to one visit to the podium per subject. And remember that comments are most effective when they focus on subjects within the scope of Downers Grove Village governance. So the next item on our agenda is is the public comments portion of the meeting. That's item 4 if you have an agenda copy. So this is, as I said, the opportunity for comments which are on subjects not on tonight's agenda. So if anybody has a comment on something not on the agenda, please come on down to the podium and let us know what's on your mind. Okay. Oh.
During the last council meeting, during the governance discussion, there was some grousing among you about the public comment section of the agenda. Along the lines of people take too long, some comments are offensive or accusatory, and members are not recognized to respond to the comments at hand. Public bodies are required, of course, by the Open Meetings Act to allow the public access to address them. To give the mayor credit when due, and it does happen, the mayor recognizes the importance to the community, not just of the legal requirement to be able to address the council. He is generous with time, unless there is a packed house, as we have tonight. And he can rein in comments also. He does get the last word at the moment, which isn't always great. I've been scolded more than once. I expect to be again. It isn't fatal. From this perspective, public comments don't sway the council much. Maybe you get concrete across the 8-foot strip in front of your lawn instead of asphalt, but that's not very much of a sway to the public, to the council's opinion. What the public comment period does do is give residents who are affected by your decisions an opportunity to balance the narrative. You all control the narrative. You have a professional PR department that frames the information to its residents. And while I am grateful that the minutes of the meeting do not reflect word-for-word recitation of comments, particularly my own, the bland descriptions that come out, like Ms. Winningham expressed concerns about transparency, doesn't convey much meaning or the input of what's being conveyed. Controlling the narrative has worked well for you in the comprehensive plan and the guiding DG materials and process. For example, you tout how much communication has been directed to the public. Yet for the open houses, you directed staff not to put the information and rendering showing the downtown streetscape that eliminates 23 parking spaces on display. What was the motive for that? I asked the consultant and the planners why the 2019 parking study wasn't included in the guiding DG planning process. That study contains over 800 community responses that there is not enough parking downtown, especially at the library. The answer was, it's in the file. Never studied, never considered. One of the recommendations on page 123 of the plan states, continue to conduct parking studies for metro parking lots, downtown parking lots, the downtown parking garage, and on-street parking to ensure future demand is met. This implies the current demand is met, which it is not. There are other examples of conveying a false narrative, and it's easy to speculate why. Controlling the narrative controls the record of the village history in your favor. Balancing the public record is important, especially in these times. Challenges to your storyline, your judgment, your priorities, or your reasons, no matter how inartfully stated, come with the territory you signed up for, and you should take it as a privilege and take it to heart. When your constituents tell you something, you ought to heed it and modify your positions accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Clarenda Greco, business owner, Downers Grove. In regards to transparency, we have a budget of $50,000 to redo the train station allocated for that. And we have a bid of $185,000 to do the drawings. Do I need to FOIA the information to see what the other two bids are? I don't understand why, if we're supposed to be transparent, you are not letting us know the other two companies that bid on doing the drawings for this and how much their bids are. This does not even include what it's going to cost us to do whatever the company is drawing out for us. So that means once we put it out to bid, if it's too expensive, is he going to change his drawings without charging us more than the $185,000? And how many times is he going to do that? Again, does that need to be FOIA'd, or are you going to disclose that to the residents? Also, with the lot next door, when they came to us and they wanted, I think it was a 75% cut on the price, everyone said that we should put it out for sale again to see what's happening. And we were told that you've already invested a lot of time and a lot of resources, and that it was going to take too long. Have they paid? Have they bought that lot now? Is it paid for? Did we get the money and put that money towards paying down the bonds that we have on this building? Again, does that need to be FOIA'd? If they haven't, when are they going to close on that? That's interest that we're paying on those bonds. Also, about the whole mayor pro tem. There's other villages that just alternate amongst the council. I really don't think that we should have another incident that we had last time. It was in very poor taste, and I was extremely shocked, and I just talked to Councilman Tully about that. So why don't we just alternate month to month with everyone among you and be done with it? Thank you very much.
Any others? Comments on subjects not on tonight's agenda? Okay, we will continue then. Item 5 is the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
Mayor Barnett, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes unanimously. Item 6 is the active agenda. This is the portion of the meeting where we take up items on which we plan to take formal action this evening. This means these items have been discussed at least once before, often many, many times before. But this list of items under the active agenda portion of the meeting are items we plan to take action on this evening. There will be opportunity for public comment at each of them. Is there a motion concerning liquor licenses?
Mayor Barnett, I move to adopt an ordinance increasing the number of REC 1 and R3 liquor licenses.
Second.
Any comments or questions from the audience on this item? Comments or questions from the council? All those in favor say aye. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you want to ask Chris?
Yeah, thank you. Chris?
No comments, thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That passes unanimously. Next item on the active agenda, is there a motion concerning the village's comprehensive plan?
Yes, Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance updating the Village of Downers Grove's comprehensive plan as presented.
Second.
I'm assuming, based on the inbound email, that most of the folks here are here to talk about this subject. And that's where everybody will get their chance tonight. That's what we're here for. Before we do that, I wanted to just try and additionally clarify some of the things that are out there, simply based on the comments we've gotten over the last couple of days electronically. This comprehensive plan is a continuation of a planning process that started in 2011. It was updated in 15, 17, and again now. And one of the themes through that entire process has been that Ogden Avenue in particular has difficulties as it relates to redevelopment because of lot sizes. If you go back 50, 70 years when those things were platted, the world is different now. There are parking requirements at the village places. There are stormwater requirements at the village places. There are setback requirements at the village places. And then sometimes in the realm of chains and franchises, there are often physical requirements that those companies put on developments as well. So what that means and what we've found and what we believe to be the case is that often those small lot sizes, relatively small lot sizes, are impediment to redevelopment. And so we have had a standing theory, policy, goal, target that has sat out there for many, many years now that says when we have opportunities for redevelopment on Ogden Avenue, the village is open to just about anything as it relates to consolidations and vacancy and vacating right-of-ways. It's one of the ways to create larger lots to accommodate stormwater and parking and setbacks. So this new comprehensive plan, this revised comprehensive plan that we're considering tonight, that has a drawing on it of West Ogden Avenue, it shows Wilson and Woodward as closed off, is a graphical description of the policy that we've had for 14 years now. That drawing happens to show Woodward and Wilson. It could show any number of other streets. It could show Elm, it could show Washington, it could show, pick one, any one of the streets up and down Ogden Avenue. It's just a graphical representation. That same graphic, if you look at it closely, has a bunch of other items in it too that are well beyond the village's control. For instance, it talks about reductions in surface parking and calls out the corridors buildings. Clearly, the village is not going to be trying to find a way to get the corridors people to take their parking garage down. It also talks about opportunities to improve the road, that it belongs to IDOT and DOT. The village can't tell them what to do. What we can do is if for some reason they start into a project, it reminds us of the things that are important to us. So what this is, thanks for putting that up, Dave. Important to remember, this is just a graphical representation of any piece of Ogden Avenue and reflects the idea that the village is open to the idea of consolidation or street closures. Why would we even put that in there? Because if you were thinking about development in Ogden Avenue, if you were looking for the place to put your Andy's or your Popeyes or your new car dealership, one of the things you most likely would do is have a real estate agent and maybe an attorney contact the village and say, tell us about the rules. one of the things we would provide maps, we would provide zoning ordinances. We also would provide our comprehensive plan to give people some idea of what the village is open to in the future. Now, one more thing, and then I'll let you guys have your say. One more thing is to use the Andes as an example of a recent development. There was a lot of conversation about Elm and Washington and access. Should they be limited in some way? Should they be closed in some way? What would we do with curb cuts? Would that create a problem in the neighborhood? That process was 6 or 8 meetings over 6 or 8 months, had a lot of public input, and ended at a very compromise-ish kind of position. The comprehensive plan still said all the same things. Each time we have a development on Ogden Avenue, what we do is we look to this as what might we consider. So please understand that if you're coming to tell us you don't want Woodward closed at Ogden, or you don't want Wilson closed at Ogden, 1, we're not doing it. But 2, that could be anybody's street along Ogden Avenue. It's just a concept of one of the challenges along Ogden Avenue. So with that, anybody should feel free to tell us whatever's on their mind. Please come on down to the podium, and if you have a comment on this subject, let us know your name and tell us what's on your mind.
Good evening, council members. My name is Valerie Jensen. My parents built their home in the 4500 block of Cornell in 1967, where they still live at ages 93 and 96, and I stay with them once in a while. At one point, our dead-end street had 47 children. We pulled our radio flyer wagons down the hill to Heinz Lumber for scrap wood, for clubhouse building. We walked to town for Jolly Ranchers at Ma and Pa Candies, and we even rode horses in the empty lot that sat behind the junkyard, which is now Bill K. Nissan. I attended Longfellow, Pierce Downer, Herrick, and North High, along with a student who'd later become my husband. After college and graduate school, we returned home to raise our 2 daughters, who also went through districts 58 and 99 and are highly successful today. Professionally, I've had the honor of serving in the regulatory role for the state of Illinois, appointed by Congressman Pete Roscom to the Department of Financial and Professional Regulation. I am also the owner of Prairie Family Therapy, where I've had the privilege of supporting many local families for over 30 years. I share this not to establish my connection to the neighborhood, but to underscore how invested I am in the safety, livability, and future of Downers Grove. That is why I'm here tonight to respectfully urge you to oppose the proposal to connect Grant Street. At first glance, opening Grant Street might seem like a small change, a way to improve traffic flow or align with broader village goals. But when you look closer, it's clear this connection would be a dangerous and costly mistake. Let's start with the physical reality of the street. From Belmont to Stonewall, Grant Street is narrow, having no curbs, where parked cars on either side reduce the road to a single drivable lane. The homes along this stretch sit mere feet from the pavement, far closer than any nearby streets like Lee, where homes are set well back. Low-hanging utility wires, steep grade changes, and narrow right-of-way make this section of Grant structurally unfit for commuter traffic. This isn't just my opinion. National traffic planning standards agree. The Institute of Transportation Engineers notes that streets without curbs and setbacks are not appropriate for through traffic, especially if they're residential. And yet, even without the proposed connection, we are seeing commuter pressure. Drivers looking to avoid congestion on Ogden and Belmont are using Grant and Chicago as unofficial bypasses. This has resulted in speeding, unsafe driving, and frequent close calls for both cars and pedestrians, many of whom are school-age children. Opening this connection would only increase that volume, funneling more drivers, many unfamiliar with the area, onto narrow, unsafe streets. Meanwhile, we already have 2 well-established east-west corridors in this part of Downers Grove, Prairie and Warren. These streets are wider, more traffic-ready, and better designed to handle overflow. The idea that we need yet another cut-through simply doesn't hold water. This is a shared space A calm, safe, human-scale street that works because it's not a shortcut. It's a place where kids ride bikes and chase their stray soccer balls, where senior citizens walk, where marathon hopefuls and our cross-country teams train on the hill, where volunteers from the West Suburban Humane Society rehabilitate fearful and reactive dogs who need a quiet, low-traffic route. And let's not forget, this proposal has been brought before the council before, and it has been voted down at least twice. Previous councils recognized that what looked like connectivity on paper comes at an expense of real safety, endangering real lives. They saw what I hope you see tonight, that opening Grant at Cornell will result in induced demand, the illusion of reducing congestion elsewhere by creating more traffic and dangers for the families that live in the area. As a lifelong member of this community, I ask you to apply that wisdom here. Grant Street is not a traffic solution, nor is it some accommodation to future development. Please protect it and the people who live, walk, and raise families there by keeping it closed. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hey, Robin, hang on one second. Come on up, but just hold on one second. I should have probably addressed that Grant Street question as well. I'm sorry that I didn't do that. It was in the minutes that were first approved tonight, so you all would not really have had a good chance to see that. The meeting on July 15th that we had up here, if you take a look at those minutes, the direction from this council as it relates to Grant Street, if that's one of the things that's on your mind this evening, was that we were recommending that it be left as it is and only considered if a specific request from a property owner came before us. There was a variety of, warm and cold to that idea up here, as you might suspect with any group of 7 people, but that was the direction that we took. And so that's the direction that we are likely to take with this comprehensive plan, which is to leave it as is. As with any piece of property in any street throughout the village, if a property owner comes to us with a request, we will listen to it, and we will listen to what they propose, and we will consider it, and we will talk to the community. But in terms of directing a change now, that is not part of what's in our scope. So with that, Robin, please.
Good evening. My name is Robin Triof, and I've been a proud resident of the Prince Pond neighborhood for the past 35 years. I want to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt appreciation to the Village Council, the Planning and Zoning Commission, and the village staff for listening to the concerns raised by our neighborhood regarding the properties at the corner of Saratoga and Warren Avenues. We are genuinely encouraged and grateful to see that these properties are designated as single-family attached residential in the future land use map of the comprehensive plan you're considering for approval this evening. This thoughtful decision affirms the importance of maintaining the residential character of our neighborhood and acknowledges the voices of those who call it home. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. John Ladon, 1930 55th Place, but I own the Charles Blodgett home at the south end of Prince Pond. It's the middle house in the south end of Prince Pond. And I also want to say thank you for the work that's been done so far to help protect Prince Pond, the future land use map, the alignment of the maps that are in the plan. That's a great first step, and we do appreciate it. But it is the only first step. The corner still zone DT, and our next priority for the neighborhood is to get the zoning changed. We understand that's a long-term process. It's not an easy process, but that's going to be our next priority to get the actual zoning changed to help protect that corner even more. So just wanted to say thank you for the work so far, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Liz Arnold. I live at the southwest corner of Stonewall and Grant. I appreciate the comments, Mayor, that you made earlier about these just being graphics and illustrations, but I think it makes sense to drill down a little bit deep to this specific part of Downers Grove. The proposed changes here are somewhat alarming. Closing off access to Ogden at any street is dangerous for this neighborhood, as ingress and egress is naturally limited by fewer streets. Pershing and Cornell have already been vacated. These additional closures would critically reduce access to Ogden and put children who walk or ride to school in additional danger. Although this is currently presented as a plan, an endorsement from the village today would provide future council members with the precedent to approve plans without considering some important facts. I wish to formally register a list of concerns for the official record and urge that the council remove the 2 right-of-way vacations in the proposed plan and delay any approval of such vacations until a concrete development plan is put forth for all of us to consider. So here's a couple of my largest concerns. First and foremost, traffic and pedestrian safety. The plan poses a serious risk to the safety of our children. Without bus service for most students, the reliance on cycling, walking, or parental drop-offs will all funnel through neighborhood traffic through fewer streets and lead to dangerous congestion during peak school hours. Secondly, emergency vehicle access. The recommended plan would leave the neighborhood with fewer access points for emergency vehicles to enter and exit onto Ogden Avenue. This is a critical deficiency that could severely impede response times. Third is traffic congestion. Consolidating vehicle traffic will cause substantial backups on our roads, especially Stonewall, a small residential street that cannot handle this type of volume. This will negatively affect thousands of residents, including homes south of Prairie Avenue, as well as essential services that flow through the neighborhood. This includes drivers who dangerously use our roads as a cut-through to avoid the Ogden and Belmont light. Fourth is the safety of the Ogden intersection. The existing intersections of Wilson, Woodward, and Stonewall are already highly dangerous due to limited visibility and Ogden drivers who excessively speed without enforcement or another light for 1.5 miles to slow them down, making it extremely difficult and unsafe for vehicles to turn onto Ogden. Funneling more cars onto less streets will cause significant backups. And finally, safety on Grant Street. The existing confusing 2-way stops and excessive speeding without enforcement on Grant have already led to numerous accidents and close calls with both cars and pedestrians. Horns honk constantly. Increasing the traffic volume here will intensify the existing safety hazards. Coincidentally, just today, a car hit the stop sign at Stonewall and Grant, so we had to call the police to help them come fix it. I respectfully request that the council remove the right-of-way vacations in the current plan at Wilson and Woodward. It causes confusion. Increasing commercial depths can be achieved without landlocking 2 major thoroughfares for our little piece of Downers Grove. I acknowledge that vacating streets has worked in other locations. However, those other locations had multiple ingress-egress options that are just not available here. Vacating any other street in addition to Pershing and Cornell will pose significant hazards, and I urge the council not to endorse this in any publicly released plan. I've spoken with over 100 neighbors, and we have a petition here that we have over 100 signatures to please revise the West Ogden Avenue Focus Area Plan and eliminate these street vacations. While this comprehensive plan presents some compelling opportunities for the continued enhancement of our village, and I should say I'm in commercial real estate for my role, and I've been a part of some of these amazing developments in Downers, and I truly believe that we can continue to make the village better. We have to do it prioritizing the safety and well-being of the residents here. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Griffin. I am 9 years old and I am going into 4th grade at Pierce Downer Elementary School. I just got the privilege to walk or ride my bike to school, and I do not want that privilege to be taken away. The number one reason that would happen is too many cars on Stonewall. I might get hit. That would happen because Woodward and Wilson get shut down and every car goes to Stonewall. That's like 3 times the cars. There's already too many cars. Anyway, I am very against this. Thank you for your time.
tough act to follow.
But
It's a tough act to follow.
I know. Hi, Nicole Joyce. I'm a resident in the area, in the Stonewall area. So I just want to say thank you, Mayor Barnett, and to all the council members for your roles and for the time and opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you to all of you who've spent significant amounts of time on the Village Comprehensive Plan. Like many, I like a lot of what is in the plan, and I appreciate what you've all done on this and other initiatives to continuously maintain and improve Downers Grove. With regard to the potential right-of-way vacations at Wilson and Woodward, I understand that these are potential and that the village may never choose to grant these. I also believe that there is not a current development planned for this space, and so the configuration may ultimately end up looking very different than it does on the drawing today. The uninterrupted frontage, this is according to Google, included in this drawing is approximately 1,500 feet. That's much longer than even the largest developments in our area. For perspective, you could turn the Sears Tower on its side and fit it into this space. It's entirely possible that this would not be one developer requesting this uninterrupted layout that's included in this drawing, but it would be could be multiple developers parceling out this space very differently than it looks today, maybe taking only portions of it or maybe taking none at all ever. As Mayor Barnett has shared previously, the village has been willing to consider vacating streets, and tonight actually, been willing to consider vacating streets in order to help assemble larger parcels since 2011. And so while there's the potential for right-of-way vacations anywhere, be it on Ogden Avenue or throughout Downers Grove, it is very confusing why the drawing pegs specific streets to the exclusion of others similarly situated without a development proposal requesting the rights to those specific streets. Said differently, if a developer requested a right-of-way vacation on the one street in this neighborhood that is not flagged for consideration on the drawing, would the village not be willing to consider that developer's request? If the village would be open to considering that request, then why does the drawing reflect any of the streets differently from any others rather than a general statement aligning with the mayor's comments that the village will consider right-of-way vacations as necessary? Drawing or no drawing, the opportunity exists. There's a significant amount of community that would have really valuable input on a tangible right-of-way request. From your July 15th meeting, my understanding is that the council is very interested in community meetings at the time that a developer would make a request, as we can make more mindful decisions when we know what's actually in front of us. In the past few days, I've seen feedback from residents generally in support of the overall plan, but at the same time muddled with real anxieties about the prescriptive nature of this drawing. You've been hearing from neighbors over the past few days, tonight with their concerns, but you won't be able to alleviate these concerns because there is no planned development at this time. Yet these are still very real concerns for these residents. Wouldn't it be better to get this community engagement and collaboration when there is an actual development request on the table that indicates which, if any, streets are requested to be vacated? There are a lot of hypotheticals, a lot of ifs, and a lot of may never happens. If we could shift the vacations to development proposal based and remove the dictation of specific streets from the plan or this drawing, the village would be leaving all options open and there would be a lot of opportunity for appropriate community engagement at a later date, if and when a developer requests a specific right-of-way vacation to achieve a larger parcel. The community is seeing our streets and our traffic patterns and our safety being altered on paper, but at the same time, we're being told not to worry, it might not ever happen. Removing these specific details at this time would preserve the conceptual nature of this plan and give the opportunity for everyone to be engaging thoughtfully on a very tangible, fact-based scenario at the appropriate time. My request is to hear from you all tonight on the ability that you have to update the drawing and the related text to remove the prescriptive, pre-selected flagging of certain streets while maintaining the long-standing concept and general statements within this focus area that right-of-way vacations will be considered as appropriate. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Jeff O'Brien, 4401 Wilson Avenue. First, on Wilson, the people fly. So if we could do anything to slow down cars, that'd be great. I have a 2.5-year-old son. We worry when he goes out front. I know a lot of our neighbors or kids play in the front yard. So just in general, like if we can do something to fix that, that would be fantastic. I'm specifically, it was a little disconcerting to me and my wife, 300 feet from Ogden cuts my house in half. Cuts my neighbor who's been there for a long time, Jean. It would be her house too. So we were really concerned. I know this is a conceptual drawing, but to see that it looks nice, it's pretty, but to take into the fact that there's people's houses and what's that going to mean for the future. So that's about it for me. So thank you very much. Thanks for your service.
Good evening. My name is Mimi Modica. I feel like an anomaly because I'm not talking about cut-throughs, but I did want to thank the Village Council for their work on the strategic plan. I think there's some great opportunities in here. I want to call out and strongly advocate from this plan the housing affordability study recommendation and ask that the council take that up. There are indications both in the plan and if you look at data from the census and the American Community Survey that housing is becoming unaffordable and inaccessible to many of our residents, including teachers, health and human service workers, people who take care of our family members, and first responders. For the health and well-being of our community, we want all of these people to be able to live here. So we strongly advocate for that housing affordability study as a starting place. And advocate for a mix of economic accessibility in our housing. I also want to call out the cost burden for renters within DuPage County, Downers Grove. I think that it is actually higher than what is stated in the plan right now, and I would encourage the council to look at American Community Survey data that suggests that housing burden and severe housing burden cost burden is up to 48% of renters in Downers Grove, so that is something to consider. I would also like the council to consider more specific plans for our residents who are aging in place and our residents with intellectual and developmental disabilities. There is no supportive housing plan really fleshed out within the housing plan here, and I would encourage the village to do that as well. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. I'm Bill Ulrich, proud 3-year resident of Downers Grove and member of Accessible DG. And as Mimi said a moment ago, we appreciate the work that's gone into the comprehensive plan. This has been a multi-year project and there's a lot of thought and excellent stuff in there. Specifically, however, in our minds, the Section 5 recommendations recognize several groups like seniors and missing middle workers that need options to live and contribute to the community that they love. We believe that individuals with disabilities and their families should also be acknowledged and addressed. There are lifelong residents that need options and supportive services in order to continue to truly flourish in Downers Grove and contribute to the community that they've been a part of all their lives. So that's Section 5. In a similar vein, the implementation matrix, item 1.03, suggests zoning bonuses for attainable projects. We'd also like you to consider similar bonuses for offering supportive services in development projects that would be available to developers to provide additional options for members of their communities. This could be part of the item 4, Project E, support for social service providers and programs that serves the community, turning that from a general indication of support to something a little more tangible. There are a lot of state, local, and private funds available for these services, but having that as part of the explicit village plan would make it easier for developers to incorporate that into their own plans. So again, we appreciate the work, and we hope we can continue to make Downers accessible for as many people as really want to be here. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jay Rios. I'm a resident of Downers Grove since about '85. I've spoke about this issue. I'm also a member of the Accessible Downers Grove, and I spoke about this issue before. Affordability. I was mentioning to Bill, we can all talk about affordability. I met a young man, Justin, at Costco. He helped me. I bought a grill out there. Nice young man. He's worked at Costco for the last 8 years. Graduate of Downers Grove South. He and his girlfriend, partner, whatever, rent here in Downers. And I said, how come you don't buy? He goes, it's unaffordable, dude. He says, I make a good salary. My partner makes a good salary. We still can't afford to buy a home here. These are real life issues, guys. I appreciate the work that you guys have put in, and I look forward to working with you, helping you, whatever I can do. But it really is a real issue that's going on here in Downers. Personally, if I hadn't bought our home when we did, we couldn't afford it. Now, we're fortunate that our son lives here on Grant. He's not here to talk about because he lives on the other side. Got to keep it light. And our daughter lives at 63rd and Main. We're fortunate that our son makes a very good living. Our daughter-in-law, she's a teacher, but she couldn't afford to live there, if indeed she had to do it on her own. Same thing with my daughter. My daughter's a teacher. She could not afford to live at 63rd and Main in that area unless her husband has a really good position. So, sound like a broken record, and you might say, well, what can I tell you? I hope that through these efforts, you will work with us, and it appears that you will, and that you are being receptive. Really appreciate it. Again, maybe it was meant to be, but running into this young man really even opened my eyes even more, that there are a lot of people out there that are working very, very hard, want to remain here, but just don't see how. So I ask that you work with us and see if we can find a way. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Rick Hall, and I live at the 800 block of Curtis Street, just steps away from where it is that we're meeting tonight. I'm a dad, I'm a neighbor, I love this community. Some quick perspective. My son goes to Whittier Elementary School. He's in the school band, plays for Downers Grove Youth Baseball, has aspirations of one day playing baseball for North. I have a high school daughter who's at DGN, plays for the school's golf team. She's in the school band, plays oboe with the Naperville Symphony Orchestra, and was just accepted into the Chicago Symphony Orchestra's youth program. I share all of this to offer perspective tonight of how deep we are invested here in Downers Grove. We cheer at the games, we walk at the schools, we know the baristas and the teachers, even the neighbors who have the Halloween decorations that are better than us on the block. But yet staying in Downers Grove is getting harder by the year. I rent my home, and I've been here for years. With each lease renewal, the rent climbs and the options shrink. Steps away, Maple and Maine, the 3-bedroom apartment that would be suitable for my family, I looked it up last night, $4,700 a month. Now that's not an entry-level price, that's, hey, do you have reality show money? I don't have that. Trying to buy something feasible, something to keep my kids in the district, the schools that they love, it's not just tight, it's out of reach. So when I saw that this proposal includes focus on middle housing, something that's between mansions, single-family homes in Downers Grove and apartment buildings, I was encouraged, I was excited because that's smart. I think that's something that is needed. The proposal addresses it. Families like mine need more than luxury condos and starter mansions in Downers Grove. But I've also read the rest, and there's some language in this proposal that gives me pause. Things like encouraging redevelopment of underutilized lots, promoting residential density, accommodating transitional land use. And it's that phrase, transition area, that hits home because I reside in one. Now, transition area might sound harmless in planning terms, but to somebody like me, it sounds like a neighborhood that could quickly disappear. I'm not a property owner. I live with the consequences if the property gets sold or redeveloped. If the village uses quick take or incentives for redevelopment, my landlord will get a buyout. But my family, nothing. No compensation, no moving assistance, just a knock at the door. Now, this isn't a distant what if. Eminent domain, quick take laws, they've been used before in Downers Grove. My understanding most recently with the parking deck downtown is a prime example. So I don't know that I'm paranoid. I think there's precedent for this. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not anti-growth because the vision that you're casting, it's exciting, and I love the revitalized space and the vibrant activity hubs that this proposal includes. So if my concern turns out to be unfounded, that's great. But I'm asking this tonight, as we grow, let's not erase the people that already live here in Downers Grove. My family has roots here, and we deserve to have a future here too. I know some of you live just a few doors down from me, so my neighbors, hi. This is awkward that I'm meeting you here tonight, standing at a podium with a time limit. If you like bourbon, let's grab a drink. I'll close with this. As we move forward with these plans, please don't forget the families who already call Downers Grove home, families like mine. Keep us in the conversation, keep us in the vision, help make sure that we get to stay included in the place in which we love. This isn't just where my kids and I live, this is our home. And progress should never come at the cost of the people that are already building their lives here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jolie Fredette, and I'm a 50-year resident of Downers Grove. I have lived on Stonewall Avenue all that time, and I am currently working with Emily Erickson about changing some of the things on Stonewall. I live between Prairie and the tracks. Stonewall, as you know, has ditches on both sides. It has become narrower and narrower as the cars get larger and larger. Being here since the 70s, the cars were much smaller. If you look at those videos, my F-150 would look like a little car now, compared to the F-150s now. I don't have that car from the 1975, but it's a whole different car. I have a single driveway. Last summer, it got so bad that I did get this village to put no parking on one side because the fire department could not get down the street. We had $2 million houses put up on our street in another major construction, all in the center. We now have another $1 million house going up at the top of the hill, Koopich house. I need the city to really think about what they're proposing here. Right now, the amount of traffic, the speed limits, maybe put speed bumps on Stonewall. I would love it. It's crazy. The speed they use to get down to Warren Avenue, when the traffic slows down on Ogden Avenue, they all turn down the top of the hill, they see it, they turn down Stonewall and they start diverting over. Either they go to Prairie and try to catch the light, or they go down to Warren and catch the light. Our street becomes a major thoroughfare during major times. And when Prairie starts to back up, they do the same thing. They start cutting over and then going down to Warren, especially when it's 3:30. And that's when all the kids are out running cross country. So I really would like the city to consider not doing this, and also consider making some changes for these streets, making them either parking on one side or the other, because you can't get down the streets sometimes. There was a senior graduation this spring. They literally parked up the whole street. I had to go into somebody else's driveway, turn around to get up my street. So maybe talk to Emily. I've sent her pictures. But again, it just, this idea of making Stonewall the only thoroughfare when it's a ditch street, does not have curb, is insane. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, thanks for hearing me tonight. I am also going to talk about the Wilson and Woodward right-of-way vacations. I found out about this late last night, so I apologize for the brevity of my notes here and maybe some of the sloppiness, but I'll start off. My name is Art Fletcher. I live at 4700 Stonewall. My wife, standing in the back there, and I have moved in 20 years ago this month. I don't know exactly what day, but I thought that was pretty shocking until she just said 50. So she kind of took a little of my thunder there, but 20 years being on this block. And if you don't know where this is Stonewall Avenue, where Chicago would be. So we are on the southwest corner of Chicago and Stonewall. And I say where Chicago would be, it's not there, right? And it's not there for a reason. Chicago doesn't exist. We vacated that property when we moved in about 15 years ago. We purchased a little bit, extended the fence out there. We applied to the village. I was sitting in the old building, talking in front of the mayor and the council then about vacating this. And at that time, it was no problem, no big deal. Why? Because they knew they were never going to build a road there. Why weren't they going to build the road there? Because the same reason they didn't build the road there years ago. Chicago ends at Cornell and starts back up at Woodward to the west. They didn't build a road there because that intersection would be at the bottom of a hill on a curve. And they deemed it years and years ago too dangerous to put an intersection there. They deemed it too dangerous to do anything else. That's why they gave us the right-of-way years ago, right? So we now own that property. I don't have to worry about Chicago going through there. But the fact of the matter is, it's still a very dangerous section of road. East of this area, and unfortunately, when you look at this map, when I first saw this map, I was disappointed. It doesn't show where my house is, and very importantly, it doesn't show where Hooper's Hollow is. But if you extended this map down just a little bit, you will see a very large park just to the east of Stonewall Avenue, Hooper's Hollow, right? There is a crossing just to the north of my house. It's actually called out in the 1220 or 121724 bike and walkway path plan for the village, right? It is the Hoopers to Belmont Trail, identified as a connector from the rec center to Hoopers Hollow. That's at the very bottom of that hill. At the very top of that hill happens to be another connector that goes to a sidewalk and crosses over. So what does this mean? It means that every day there is a very significant amount of dog walkers, bicyclists, and kids that cross in front of my house. I've been there for 20 years. There's nobody who's more of an expert on the people that cross that path next to my house than my wife and I, right? We see them all the time. In the wintertime, kids are dragging sleds down that sidewalk to go to Hooper's Hollow. There's hills at Hooper's Hollow. They go back and forth with sleds, all right? It's at the bottom of the hill. The same hill, when it snows, you cannot get up that hill in a two-wheel drive vehicle. You can't do it. Ask Karen back there. She can't do it in her Avalon, right? Why? Because it's a steep hill. It's a dangerous hill. Go back to the reason that they didn't build Chicago there in the first place. Okay, so think about that. Some numbers now. I was looking last night. Sorry, I'm an engineer. It's what I do. Right now, Stonewall services 128 houses. If you look at Google Maps and you count the houses up, and I did last night. If you vacate these two roads, it's going to service now 421 houses. So we're going from 128 to 421 houses. That's 3.3 times the amount of traffic that we're going to see there. 3.3 times the amount of traffic coming off Ogden, going down Stonewall to service this little area. So think about that. Turn over. A couple of pages to identify. First off, I don't know if you guys recognize this. This is page 53 of the plan that that's a part of, right? If you read on page 53, the recommendations, this is for the land use and development. I'll read your words. Commercial uses should be located in areas with a regional draw of a corridor where they will benefit from access and visibility without significantly contributing to traffic or impact on nearby residential areas. This is part of your plan. All right, page 112 of your plan, right here. You recognize the ugly color, red, perfect though. If I read that, goal and key recommendations of your plan: provide a seamless, efficient transportation system that offers good connectivity, improves safety and mobility for people using all modes, walking, biking, transit, and driving, reducing traffic and emissions. So I would ask you now to consider this, and you guys are likely gonna go vote for it. First of all, have we seen a traffic plan? It may be out there, I haven't seen it. I'd like to understand what a traffic evaluation on Stonewall would be with these right-of-ways closed. Have anybody seen this? Nobody's raising their hand, I'm assuming you haven't. Has anybody seen a pedestrian study on the pathways at the bottom of the hill or at the top of the hill? I'm guessing you haven't. I haven't seen it either. There's no way that you can vote for this plan to vacate those right-of-ways in a good conscious mind without looking at a traffic plan, without looking at a pedestrian plan, and evaluating specifically this area as for the safety concerns of the kids going back and forth from Hooper-Salva. So that's all I got. Thank you for listening to me.
Hello, everybody. My name's Tom Drenan. I live at 4501 Cornell. I agree that closing off those two streets, Wilson and Woodward, would not be a smart thing to do. The thing that I'm more concerned with is the having a through street from Belmont to Lee, because there's probably 2,000 cars that go down Belmont towards Ogden, take that right turn, and if you open up that little path, they're all gonna go, or many, will take that right because it backs up down Belmont before Grant. And so it'll be like, well, gee, I just have to wait another 3-4 minutes or take the right. And so a lot of people are gonna take that right, even if you have a don't take a right sign, and they're gonna go down that street. And that's the street that all the little kids walk to get to Pierce Downer, and they all go to Herrick, and then the bigger kids go to North, and they're all on Grant. And so if you're gonna open that up, I think there's gonna be an awful lot of traffic. Property values will go down, whatever, but there's gonna be a lot of traffic, and it's gonna change the community, and kids are gonna be scared. Well, kids aren't scared. They walk on the streets anyway, but it'll be bad. It's not a smart thing to do, and that's my big concern. So thanks a lot, guys.
Good evening. My name is Pete Van Hecki, and I live right at Grant, where the suggested through fair is. And we've garnered, collected in 6 days, about 175 signatures requesting that we don't make this a through street. I think everyone did a good job of explaining why. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. And if the builder needs access to that lot to build, he can do so without giving up the dead end. So for the kids, as everyone mentioned, I think it's important that we consider leaving that as is, as a dead end. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Greg Reiser. I live at 4504 Stonewall, right next to Liz and Griffin, who spoke earlier. And I just want to voice my support for everything that they said. I oppose what's in the drawings and just want to make sure that I've gone on record for that. Thank you.
How you doing, guys? Thank you very much for being here. Will Koopich, a longtime resident, teacher at North High, blessed beyond belief to be in this town. Thank all of you for what you do. No town is perfect, but this is a doggone great town. And great people behind me, here for the right reasons. And all we ask is that you would do your thing for the right reasons. Be who you are and realize that these people are on the streets. These are our homes. And when you propose things and throw them up, man, it just scares the heckles out of us, you know what I mean? And what could happen and what has happened when you look at the people that oppose the lot there at Longfellow, you know, with the trees and everything that went on there in those 12 homes. Happy for those homeowners. I mean, they're dying to get into Downers. You can't blame them for that, and the builder. However that worked, there certainly were a lot of people against it. But in this case, on Grant Street, where Pete was just up, Val did a great job. These people on Cornell, all that whole dead end there for Grant, if you can think about it. And if anything you want to do in your life is when you work here is you take care of people as if you're taking care of your own family. I always say, and when you go to the airport, the most important person is not the pilot. It's not the president on the plane. It's the airplane mechanic. And he's got to have that plane running like his mom, his son, his wife is on that plane. And you got to run your business here working and serving us, you serve us, that you treat us like family. So if you need to go out to those areas and take a look and walk the Platza survey, the homes, the properties, just to get a feel, because there's heart and passion and lives behind you, right behind me. And I know that's you as well. So you just consider all that. But Grant, at that cut through there, the people that walk by our home, we're 100 meters from that dead end. It's incredible, the people that come down, the dog walkers, the therapy for the kennel, and the list goes on of all the people that utilize that's not a through street. But if you were there and you came to that street, you would be in front of the Connis's house, the lowest part. We've had our kids there, and there's a new cycle of children that are there. When you stand at the bottom of that hill, you cannot see a sedan at the top. And it just comes down like a roller coaster. And the people that do fly down, that think it's a cut through, they don't read the sign, it says no outlet. They're barreling down, and they turn around in Pete's driveway and barrel back up Grant Street, and they do it the other end on the west side down Cornell. So it's crazy out there, and you know it. And this is a slice of Downers Grove that's been there since I started at North High School in '78. That was a dead-end street. And the cross-country team, we'd run and cut through there. And it's just a beautiful powdered Downers. And many people want to keep it that, not just the people on the block. So I thank you for what you're doing. Treat it like as if it was your neighborhood, your house, and we're golden, because then you're going to do the right thing. I really believe that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ken Connis. I agree with what Mr. Drenan mentioned about Grant Street. I don't want it to go through either. I understand it's an idea, but I'm against the idea. A lot of my neighbors are, and as Pete mentioned, he handed me the petition, so physical evidence of the opposition to the idea of putting it through. Just a couple other things about that idea. Safety is important. It's one of the safest parts of the bike route in Downers Grove. Lots of dog walkers come through. Incredibly enough, I see, it's interesting, a couple years ago they put in a sidewalk there, which nobody asked for, but they put it in, and so, but I still see lots of people walking through the end on the street, and with strollers even. So they know it's a safe place, and it's safe for 2 blocks, then it's back to the normal frenzy of traffic. And so, but I'd hate to see that safe place go away. 2 other things. Putting it through would create more stormwater runoff problems and challenges. I mean, you know how that is. That's been a giant headache for the last 20 years. And save the money, spend it someplace else. I mean, we don't have an infinite supply of money, so spend it someplace else. Like make affordable housing, that's a very good idea. I like that. So, thank you.
My name's Roland Brocker. I live on Pershing. Wife's a lifelong resident. I've been here over 30 years. I also agree with everybody, but Grant shouldn't be opened up, and we shouldn't be blocking those streets. I live on a block street. I live on Pershing. And it was done, I don't know, 2011, 2000, whatever it was. And it's still a thoroughfare from the businesses that are working there. Now, I understand the businesses they're all trying to make money, and they all want to do this stuff, but it ends up being that I've got low boys coming in there pulling cars in and out, and scooters going back and forth, and test drivers and everything else, as well as they park there on our street. They have no places, no spots. I think they're doing great. I think they're doing a great job, but I think they need to find a bigger and better place. This place, it just doesn't lend to them. The same thing with on Woodward. There's a great auto dealership right over there. If he's busy, you can't see making a turn on Ogden Avenue because he's got cars jacked right up on Ogden Avenue, or he's got the side lot. I know you're in an interesting and difficult spot, but they're not being good neighbors. And that's something we all want. We all want good neighbors. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. All right, thank you all. Thanks for taking the time. It's not easy to do sometimes, I realize that, and we appreciate it. And hopefully we create an environment where people feel comfortable in doing that. I'm glad you all have. If you're watching from home tonight, check in with somebody who is here. It's not the worst thing in the world. Feel free to come down and tell us what's on your mind. We do appreciate it. And as was alluded to earlier in some of the public comments section, some of these things have an impact and some don't. But that's the process. So we're glad you've all taken a moment to participate in it. Any council comments, questions as we take this subject up? Martin, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Good to see everyone. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you taking the time to come down. We've spent the last hour talking about two very small but important to the neighborhood pieces of the comprehensive plan. And I had a conversation with one of the neighbors earlier today, and there are small things that can have a big impact on the neighborhood, and certainly a big impact on people and their sense of place and where they think they will be in the future. So we very much appreciate that, and appreciate you sharing your comments and your thoughts, because it's about your neighborhood. It's about where you live. We understand that. I do want to just divert for a minute, though, and step back and talk about the comprehensive plan, because the motion that was made and seconded is the entire comprehensive plan, which, as the word entails, covers the whole village. And there's a lot of other areas, focus areas, and a lot of other exciting things going on here beyond what a number of folks came out to say. And I'm actually glad that of all the things in here, just about all of it's been super positive. So that's great. And I just would be remiss if I didn't thank our staff and everybody else who participated in putting this together, helping the village council and the community, all our different departments and our consultants that were able to pull this thing together. I think once upon a time I said that this was really a Herculean task this year. I mean, this is the third comprehensive plan that I've been involved with. It's a big undertaking, which is one of the reasons why it's only done every 7 or 8 years, because it takes a lot of work by a lot of people and a lot of input to pull everything together to provide sort of a vision of what could be in the future for the community. Not necessarily what will be, but what could be. And a lot of people made this possible, and this year was particularly challenging. I think I said Herculean, and I mean that with a capital H. And I also want to make sure that it's understood that our staff and everybody did this on top of their normal job, which is running an amazing community. That what I heard today was a lot of people saying, boy, I really love it here. And I want to have my kids live here, and I want to come back here, and I want to retire here. So kudos to our staff and everybody that made this comprehensive plan possible, on top of everything that you do day in, day out to really make Downers Grove a fantastic place to live. So I wanted to start with that very positive thing. So on the stuff that we heard, and the other thing about this is this is a vision document. It's a comprehensive plan, but I've seen enough plans to know that things almost never work out the way you envision it. Imagine there was a plan once upon a time that had the central business parking deck where Acadia on the Green is right now. It was right there on the tracks. There was a plan that showed that. fact, there's a plan somewhere that actually shows, I think, an overpass going through our downtown. There's all kinds of plans. And the plan, the idea is more of a vision, what's possible, what might be done, something to inspire interest in mostly private investors to say, oh, I see this community has an interest in maybe doing something. Maybe I'll put together a proposal. And rather than just putting a sign out there and saying, hey, you know what, we're interested in proposals, we would like people to come with those ideas, we spend some time thinking about it, what might be appropriate for our community. To draw an analogy, if you will, I could say, hey, we should do a movie on the life of Israel Blackburn. And everyone would say, that's a great idea. What an amazing movie that would be. But we don't have a script. We don't have any casting. We don't have a location. We don't have a budget. We haven't got any permits. We haven't done anything. That's kind of what this is. It's kind of a movie that someone has come up with a movie idea. A vote tonight on this comprehensive plan doesn't vacate anything. It doesn't allow anything. It doesn't permit anything. It does nothing except to say this is what we collectively as a community think is a good idea for a movie for the future of Downers Grove. And while obviously you're all here, most of you are here for a very important part of this movie, there's a lot of other scenes that we're talking about tonight, and a lot of people have worked very hard to put together. And for the most part, everything's been very well received. So I just think it's really important to remember that a vote tonight doesn't vacate anything. So we heard comments about, have you seen a traffic study? No, because we're not at that point. We may never get at that point. I said all those things you would need to actually have a movie about the life of Israel Blackburn. Well, for any of this to happen, you actually have, number one, an actual proposal. We do not have an actual proposal from actual owners, don't have that. Yes, there would have to be a traffic study, might be a pedestrian study, might be all kinds of studies. All of that would happen only if there was a proposal to actually do something that is envisioned as what might be possible here for the west end of Ogden Avenue. And that then leads me to our right-of-way vacation policy. There's been a lot of talk about the potential right-of-way vacation of two streets, Wilson and Woodward. The mayor's right. I would take it back even farther than 2011. I think the Ogden Avenue Master Plan from 1997 contemplated enlarging lots along Ogden Avenue, which would necessarily encroach upon the neighborhood, the residential areas to some degree, as something to entertain in the context of a specific proposal. And that's worked very effectively in modernizing Ogden Avenue, which many of you might know used to be called Old Plank Road for a reason, because it was. It was not developed during modern times. It was developed during times when setbacks and things like that did not allow modern development and support the kind of businesses I think we all want to see on Ogden Avenue. So for a long time, the village has encouraged thinking about lot consolidation, and that would include the potential request for a right-of-way vacation in order to make larger parcels that would support more modern development and also allow us to do a better job of things like having setbacks and greenscape and stormwater management, all kinds of things this community thinks is very important, which are very difficult to do on some of those smaller parcels. But in each and every one of those situations, that only happens in the context of a specific proposal. Somebody comes to the village and says, hey, I'd like to consolidate these two parcels. What do you think about that? Then guess what? Then we pull out a number of things like our right-of-way vacation policy. So we have a policy that someone has to meet before they can even get a right-of-way vacated. Sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't, but we have a policy for it. And none of that happens without public input, studies, discussion, staff input. There might be we have to approve a lot consolidation by itself. There might be a special use that's involved. There might be things that can be done to address some of these issues. So nothing would happen, none of this is going to happen other than you're going to have a picture in a document after tonight's vote. So that's important because, and by the way, our right-of-way vacation policy is Resolution 2003-58. It's been around for a long time, and anybody can ask for a right-of-way vacation. Any proposal, any development can say, hey, would you consider vacating these streets? But in order to do that, we have to look at all kinds of issues, such as its impact on the neighborhood. And we haven't done that because we're only talking about the movie idea right now. We're not talking about a script or actors or a budget or where it would be filmed or any of those things just yet. I want to come back to that in a second, but I want to touch upon Grant. I'm glad you said that, Mayor, because I was pretty positive that we already said that we're not proposing that grant go through. In fact, we had a conversation up here, and most, if not all of us, said, let's leave it the way it is. If somebody wants to connect Grant, they can come and ask about it in the future. But we're not going to suggest that they do it.
That's right.
So maybe we can take that one off the table. So coming back to right-of-way vacations, and particularly the possibility that two of those streets might be Wilson and Woodward. I understand that having that on a diagram causes angst. So what could we do about it? Well, first of all, as I said, no one's actually asked for that to happen. Nothing we're going to do here tonight is going to make that happen. We would address all those issues and all the concerns that you raised if we even got to that point, if there was a specific request to actually do it. There was no such request. There was no such direction from the village to do it. The village is not planning on using quick take or eminent domain or purchasing any of these parcels to do any of this. It's about envisioning an idea that someone might come to us and say, I see you're interested in doing a development here. What would you think of this? Well, we would evaluate it just like anything else. No different than if one of you wanted to build a house in Downers Grove, you would have to abide by the rules. You'd have to go through all the different requirements, so on and so forth. But I was thinking while I was listening to everybody, and even beforehand, is there something that we could do without creating more headaches to our diagram here in the comprehensive plan that might help a little bit? Just a thought for my colleagues to consider. And I'm looking at, it's page 71 of the document. I think it's page 80 of the PDF that's before us. I realize that's not the only page that reflects this, so bear with me. I'm just using this as an example. We have, as been stated now a couple of times, a long-standing established policy of encouraging opportunities to increase lot depth and width for commercial developments on Ogden Avenue. That is a fact. We don't need to do anything else for that to be the case, because it's been there for, I would say, decades. Could we maybe, instead of shading those areas and showing them as, hey, here's a couple places you might want to vacate, have a right-of-way vacation in order to support documents, simply instead have a text reference to that policy? Because if I'm a developer and I'm looking at the map and I know you got the policy and I see what you're trying to do here, I don't need for somebody to fill in with a crayon the streets here, that those two streets in particular have to be vacated. I think I could figure that out on my own, and it might come to the village and say, hey, village, I'm thinking of doing something here. Would you be open to vacating A street or B street? It might not even be these two streets. And then we would begin a process of analyzing it, analyzing the merits, involving the community, figuring out whether that's a good idea or not, as well as the entire development, because if the entire development doesn't meet our criteria, then it doesn't happen. I apologize for this just sort of occurring to me while I was sitting here listening, but would that be a way to at least retain a fact, which is we have this long-standing policy, that's not going away, and yet maybe just remove the colorization of those two areas so that it ameliorates some of the anxiety in the neighborhood? I'm throwing that out, and I would welcome a, please, no, thank you. Would that, but if so, I would be more than happy to entertain a friendly motion amendment.
It is in here,
What?
the text.
Yes, I know.
So
instead, I would reference it on the diagram.
Oh, so just reference the same text that's on the following
Remove the highlighting,
page.
yes.
That general language.
You could even link it.
I support
Exactly.
I support the amendment.
You could have a little box insert right on the diagram itself so that it would be blatantly obvious to anybody looking at it, like, okay, I can put two and two together without
Because it
having
is,
to-
yeah, that text is on the following page.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
Sorry, can I just ask, since hopefully you can hear me, are you suggesting to insert that text and remove the shading that highlights those two streets? Is that what you're saying? Remove the shading, not just add the text to the shaded area?
That's correct.
Okay. I appreciate that, Commissioner Tully. If I can, Mayor, my comment or feedback to that specifically would be, and I greatly appreciate the effort here. it seems to me though that area is linked to that specific Belmont and Ogden sort of focus area. So I want to just make sure if we're talking about just making it a more general statement, which is, as Commissioner Stowski, if you get pointed out, is there, that's fine. But I feel like that is changing the nature of what that focus area is calling for. So I just want that to be clear. I'm not saying that I'm opposed to it, but just so that we're all clear, that feels like that's a part of what we're trying, what the vision of that section or that area in town, focus area, for lack of a better phrase, is designed to represent.
So are you also proposing removing that section on page 81 of the document as well?
As I've sat here assembling my words, I haven't figured out the easiest way to do that on page 81. Page 80 it lends itself to it very easily.
Yeah.
80, 71. 81, I'm sure there's a more creative way to do it.
Couldn't there be, Dave, I'm gonna just lean on you and Stan, I see you hiding in the back there. I think the point here is there's two things. One is to try and make it obvious to a reader that vacations are a possibility, right? And make it obvious to a reader that the village recognizes lot sizes on Ogden are a challenge. But I don't know that has, so one thing that's true up and down Ogden Avenue. That is not limited to the section that we're looking at right now.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if there couldn't be either a change like Martin's talking about, or even an example, instead of picking this one, pick an example that's where it's already been done and use it as a for example. Because the challenge, and let's just be frank, guys, the challenge is that the policy that exists yesterday too, right? And so the idea that somebody might come tomorrow and say, I'd like to buy these two properties, and in doing so, I'm going to ask the village if you'd let me close Wilson.
That could happen right now.
That was encouraged at least beginning in 2011. And so one of the challenges we're faced with up here is nobody's sitting up here saying, let's close Wilson and Woodward right now. That's just not what's being said. And everybody is saying, as Martin said, traffic studies, pedestrian studies, stormwater studies, run down the list. All that would have to be done should anything happen. But what we don't want to do is also miss expectations. We don't want to intentionally say, hey, we're taking these out. Everybody go to sleep and think nothing's going to happen. I don't know if it's Drendel or if it's Washington Street. I have no idea. But the policy, I suspect, is generally supported. The question is, what's the graphic look like that we don't upset people in the current document? And that's the bridge we're trying to cross. So anybody else got any, I don't know, Dave, you want to react to the idea of a generic thing or even a previous example?
I mean, if this is the direction of the council, we absolutely could find a way to state the longstanding policy in both text and on graphics without calling out a specific road closure or specific area. So we understand that direction. We could make that happen.
I can certainly sympathize. I think we all can when you look in something like this and you see your actual block, right? That's startling. It can be unnerving. And I don't think we want to leave the impression that this is the only place we want people to consider that, because that's not true. We want them to consider it from 355 to Westmont.
The policy's much bigger.
Yeah, right. Does that seem like a direction we want to? We need an amendment that recognizes that in some way that we could go ahead and go forward with. Chris, are you what are you thinking?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I do appreciate the effort here, and I think we're sort of saying this could happen anywhere. We're just not going to put it in the comprehensive plan to specifically call out these streets. So I'm fine with that. I think it's just important for the public and the folks who are there, and I apologize for not being there, to understand that doesn't change anything other than it's just not pictured anymore. It's just a graphical representation that we're removing. Yeah. So I don't want anybody to feel like a surprise that we remove this from the plan and then all of a sudden, in the rare chance that someone comes along and does develop something there or want to develop something there, excuse me, that we said it couldn't happen, and it actually can. So I'm fine. I too understand the graphical representation there being shocking, and appreciate what you and Commissioner Tully have already stated. But to me, I'm fine with that as long as everyone is crystal clear that that policy is there, and we would evaluate all of that for lots of different ways and take into account lots of those stakeholders' thoughts on that. So I would be fine with that if that's what the balance of the council is interested in doing.
Dave, with an appropriate amendment here, you feel like you could do that, right?
Yes.
Anybody want to?
Can I speak really quick? Just respond to the last guy. I think I'm going to speak for most of this.
Yeah, we're not. Hang on a second.
We are going to oppose this.
Okay.
There's nothing to oppose.
So guys, listen, it's Art, right? All right, Art and everybody else. This is not the first time we've had a room full of people who are concerned, and this is not the first time anybody up here has been faced with a challenging discussion. What we're not going to do, though, is this. This could go till 2 a.m. There are 7 opinions up here. There are, 65 out there. We could all go back and forth, and we could get to 2 a.m. We could be mad, tired, and still not have actually done anything. What we're trying to be is open, transparent, and listening, and I think you're hearing that people are listening. But we do, really, it's got to be where the public comment portion is done, okay? Are we all clear and on the same page? It's not a respond to, it's not an answer. I made that comment earlier in the meeting. It's not a debate. That was on purpose. This is a meeting of this group that is open to the public. We've taken the public comment. I think you all can hear we're very much hearing it and listening. Please keep it that way going forward. Leslie.
One thing that is important to note is that some of the things that did come up in public comment were references earlier to some of the things that we talked about in the document about anything being sensitive to the traffic in the area, not, putting undue burden on the neighborhoods. All of that does feed into each one of these focus areas as well. So it is important to keep in mind that anytime anybody is considering any of these focus areas, every piece of this document that has led up to there, they still need to be, anybody that considers a development still needs to be taking that into consideration as well. So even though you may see, there could be a potential hammerhead somewhere, any developer would still need to come forward with a plan to show, all right, this isn't going to have a negative traffic impact. This is not going to be dangerous for pedestrians. And they're going to have to really be able to show the community, the neighborhood, and the council that is the case. There have been times when that has been true and it's gone forward, and there have been times where the council has not been convinced and the neighborhood is not convinced, and that has not gone forward. So that is also something else that I just want to make sure everyone knows, is that everything that was referenced earlier by some of the public is absolutely true, and that that is taken into consideration by your council and should be taken into consideration by anybody that's coming forward with a development in any of these focus areas or anywhere else throughout the village. So just keeping that in mind as well.
Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll start also by a big thank you to our staff and the whole team, and to the community as well. This has been a couple years of work, and obviously a little disappointing that on the night we're going to hopefully cross the finish line, that we're dealing with a little controversy after all the great work that's gone into this. And it's been mostly happy occasion. But that said, I really appreciate and thank the public for showing up to voice their concerns. It's still in the process, right? And so I'm glad you're here as opposed to after the fact. So I heard Commissioner Tully mention vision. In my architectural world, we talk about schematics quite a bit, right? And bubble diagramming, keeping these kind of loose concepts. Entertaining the idea that we might have some discussion about right-of-way abandonment. So I'm thinking if I could have taken all that I had to say and put it into an AI, Commissioner Tully would have spit out exactly what I was asking for there. So you're my AI. Thank you very much.
And I do hallucinate it per every now and then.
Okay. Well, I couldn't have said a lot of it better than myself. So I think one of the issues we've got here is some of the language. So in the key, the legend on page 81, it says vacated right-of-ways, right? It seems so final and
past tense.
Yeah, right. It's been done already. And when you read on the previous page, improve with a hammerhead cul-de-sac at Wilson Avenue and Woodward Avenue. So some of the language, I think, maybe is being much more definitive and assertive than what we really intend, right? And so if we were to use a word, which I think you just did, Leslie, we talk about potential. So if we were to say potential vacated right-of-ways, I mean, it maybe more accurately communicates what we're looking at here, because I wouldn't be in favor of vacating any of these things unless we knew we could mitigate all the concerns that were brought forward tonight. So, I mean, because I'm hearing a lot of, I like the plan, I like the idea, I don't like this vacation. How could you even think about doing that because of safety concerns? This council, at least as long as I've been on it, we've talked an awful lot about pedestrian safety. Safety for bicyclists, safety for all kinds of non-auto types of traffic. And in fact, we have a pedestrian first sort of policy in the things that we're doing now. Everything that we consider gets pushed through that filter, right? And so I can assure you that any development that came in front of us, we would be looking at those same sort of, that same filter and taking these things into consideration. And in fact, but for a solution that solves these issues and in fact makes it even safer than it is today, right? I know I wouldn't be interested in that sort of development, and I can't speak for everyone here, but in their words in the past seem to, I think, align with what I'm saying now. And it's interesting as well. I just thought we just had this Andy's discussion not too long ago, and there we had people asking us to block the street, right? And we smartly, I think, took that into consideration and took the balance of it all, because we know that if we were to block off a street, that it does have an impact on neighboring streets, and we need to think about the whole neighborhood, not just the folks immediately impacted. So I know that there's an awful lot of distrust of elected officials and in the past, and you say you're not going to do this, but we know what you really are thinking. It's really not like that, at least not with the group I'm serving with here. So I'm in favor of keeping these, the idea that these could possibly happen in the conversation, right? Knowing that we would only approve a specific development that took into account all of the concerns that have been brought forward tonight and would surely be brought forward when an actual proposal is on the table. And I would expect that anybody bringing any kind of development forward, I mean, should expect to hear the kinds of things we heard tonight. Also wanted to say that I was very vocal in my opposition to the Grant Street through fair when this came up. What was it, last meeting or the meeting before? So I was glad to see that amendment to the comprehensive plan that we have before us tonight. Also want to just assure folks that who see, hey, my house has been obliterated here. The only way that kind of thing happens is if the person who owns the home wants to sell the home to somebody else who would do that. So if you're living in a property with a house on it right now, you're safe. The village has no plans to do any eminent domain work with this, and I certainly would not vote in favor of that. And there were a couple words shared about what happened with Longfellow. I was not on the council at that time, but I can tell you that one of my being on the outside looking in during that time is that, you know, I felt like a lot of what happened there was done because of poor planning on the part of many organizations that could have got together and been more forward thinking about what was going to happen there many years in advance, right? And so what you see before you this evening is actually the kind of thing we need to prevent those kinds of things from happening, right? So this is, we're having a discussion tonight about something that, what's the likelihood of one of these vacations actually happening? I'm guessing it's actually pretty low. But wonderful that we're having these discussions well in advance because it helps to frame our planning going forward, helps us, your council, to better understand what's important to you, and that just helps guide us. So once again, thank you for that. And so I guess in closing, I would just say, I wonder if it's simply a matter of us, if we were going to make a change to this at all, inserting the words proposed or something of that nature to lessen the definitiveness of what's being suggested here. Potential, right. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mark, can I just pick up on that? Because if it makes it easier to just change some language and not have to redo graphics, I still think the shading should go, but putting the word potential as opposed to, and again, I don't want to start potential configuration as opposed to proposed configuration. I don't know how much comfort that gives anybody, but if there's a simpler way to accomplish the same goal, that's fine with me.
Chris, you still with us?
I am, sir.
Any added thoughts after listening to us for a while?
Yes, I guess I'll just go kind of into my overall. I think I've expressed how I feel about sort of that amendment. I'm good with it if the balance is, and let me just be clear that I am not in support of closing any of these streets or opening Grant. I just want it to be clear to those in the room and maybe those watching later and maybe those who come after that, kind of what we're allowing or what we sort of provide landowners now, and the policy that we've had is sort of already, as you already said, it was the way it was yesterday. So that's important. I do want to say, though, just a few things. Generally, I have been traveling for work, and I haven't had a chance to get back to everyone who sent in notes regarding the plan. I genuinely appreciate all of the feedback and insight and input that we've received. I want to thank everyone who came tonight to share the additional views and the perspectives. Candidly, you're joining nearly 2,800 additional residents who have provided us information over the last 18 months to help put this plan together. Some of the concerns I've heard shared tonight ring similar to some other inputs that we as a council with staff and our consultants and as a group have used as inputs to put this plan together. And I will just say I'm confident that your participation tonight will certainly help inform any decisions that could come up in these areas that we spoke about if and when proposals come about. Again, just let me be clear, this is not something I'm in support of. Those proposals would have to come before us. And because there isn't a proposal or plan, we're not voting on any of that tonight. What I am voting on tonight is for the vision that we have been working on for the last 18 months, a vision designed, I think, to serve all of the stakeholders in our village, not least of which are our residents. I've been extremely excited about this plan, mostly because it incorporates many of the things that I think our community values. So Martin alluded to this, there being a lot broader plan here, and it is true. It includes things like pedestrian safety and housing affordability and environmental sustainability and visions for a lot of key commerce areas that have been part of the discussion and discourse around town for many, many years. And what I think is a bit of a difference between this plan and other plans is that we've gone the next step to provide what are possible implementation ideas that our council and councils in the future can use to help guide decision making. So for all of that, I certainly want to say and echo my thanks to the village staff and our consultants at Houseo Levine. I think they took thousands of ideas and were able to mold it into what I think is a very clear vision. I think I would also be remiss if I didn't point out and thank Commissioner Greg Jose, and Commissioner Danny Glover, former commissioners whose earlier leadership helped lay this groundwork. They work with us to work on a lot of this work as well. Just weren't here to vote on it, but their input was extremely valuable and they should get the credit due. I also want to thank my fellow council members for the collaboration and the probing that we did. We did double duty on this, and I think it shows. And most of all, I want to thank residents who brought their energy and their time and their ideas to help make this possible. As I mentioned, over 2,800 individuals and probably counting provided feedback, whether it was surveys or participating in events, and that all went towards making this what I think just a great plan. I don't look at this really as a consultant document or a staff recommendation. I'm even hesitant to use the word plan. To me, this is a crowdsourced vision. And tonight, the vote, which I will support, really adopts that framework. But then the real work starts for this council and councils that will come to help guide, again, many of those decisions we have. I think by aligning our actions with what has been laid out here, I think we're putting Downers Grove in a light to grow in a way that our residents have helped us define. So again, thanks for all the help and work, and I look forward to supporting this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, we need to get to a motion here, and we have, I think what I'm hearing is we have 7 council members who all support the comprehensive plan. We still have some questions and some discomfort associated with these 2 or 3 pages, right? I'm not going to make a motion, but I'm going to suggest something. What if if everybody wants to follow along, what if on page 71, I'm using the page numbers in the document, page 71, we just removed the closure of the streets and the vacation references. And then on page 72, those upper right-hand diagrams became generic in nature. And under commercial lot expansion, we included some sort of a link of some kind or something to our vacation policy.
Well, the Ogden Avenue plan.
And the Ogden Avenue plan. Would that
Because it's more than
be some
vacation,
progress?
it's consolidation.
Yeah, right, yeah, good point. Would that feel like an improvement?
Fine with me.
Well, somebody's got to make the motion, it isn't the chair.
Just offer that link to the vacation policy, everything said in front of that, staff has no concern about. We haven't actually looked at the 1997 Ogden Avenue plan in a long time. We've embedded a lot of the planning into documents here, so I'm a little concerned about linking it directly to that, but if we would stop right before that. at
The
beginning.
existing policy, it's not in the 97 Ogden Avenue master plan, that's fine. I'm just saying it goes back a long ways.
And we say what we mean in there.
Yeah.
If we just highlighted that, have told everybody vacation is on the table.
If you want to start with 2011, that's fine, doesn't have to go back to 97.
Mike?
Just point of order, do we already have a motion on the
Yes,
table?
we have a
that's been
motion to
seconded?
amend to reflect that. I'm going to move to amend my own motion, so I move
That's where.
to amend my own motion. That's really friendly amendment. As
All right.
described.
Second.
All right, there's a second.
No,
Any
vote on the
more
amendment.
conversation on the amendment? Look like you're about to say something.
I'm sorry.
No, go
I
ahead.
probably shouldn't
That's why
have
we're
had to. Once again, there's going to be two votes. One's going to be on the motion to amend, and then there'll be a motion, there'll be a vote on the motion to approve the prior motion as amended. Neither one of those votes is going to propose to vacate anything. There's nothing to oppose. No one's asking for a vacation. There's no proposal for vacation. If 5 years from now, somebody comes forward with a proposal to do that, I would have to get through staff first, then I would have to get through planning, then would have to get through a bunch of things. Then I would expect everybody in this room to show up and say what a bad idea it is. But again, we're still talking about a movie pitch at this point.
Okay. Rosa, why don't you call the roll on the amendment?
The original amendment.
Okay. This amendment. It's only one amendment.
One amendment.
Yeah, one amendment.
Commissioner Tully?
Aye.
Commissioner Sadowski Fugit?
Aye.
Commissioner Rowe?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarver?
Aye.
Commissioner Davenport?
Aye.
Commissioner Gilmartin?
Aye.
Mayor Barnett?
Aye. That passes unanimously. Any more conversation about the plan overall before we close? Leslie, please.
Yes, I do appreciate all of the comments as well about the inclusion of housing affordability. That is something for anybody who has been coming to meetings, that is something near and dear to my heart. And I am very grateful that that has made it into this comprehensive plan. So for those who are part of Accessible DG and those who came to speak, I would love to talk with any of you more. So if you can email me, find me after the meeting. I want to make sure that whatever way we do this right, and certainly start, hopefully, fingers crossed, as we move into priority action item season, to start with a housing affordability study. So I appreciate all of the interest in that. And yeah, I agree with everything that was said. And also a big thanks to staff, all of my fellow commissioners, former commissioners, and residents, as everyone said. This was a tough 18-month process, many hours away from family, but I'm incredibly proud of the product. So that is all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mark?
Just going to add that there is, picking up what Commissioner Sadowski is, there's a lot to be super proud of in this comprehensive plan, and everybody here and in the entire village should be very proud. There's a lot of good that's going to come out of it. It'll take time. If you've noticed one theme, nothing happens tonight. This is all long-term, and not everything is going to happen because I guarantee you we'll be talking about the next comprehensive plan before many of these things have been accomplished. But there's a lot to be proud of here, and I think Downers Grove did itself proud, so thank you. That's it, Mayor.
Chris, one more time?
I think it's all been said. Thank you, Mayor.
Rosa, please call the roll.
Commissioner Tully?
Aye.
Commissioner Sadowski Fugit?
Aye.
Commissioner Rowe?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarver?
Aye.
Commissioner Davenport?
Aye.
Commissioner Gilmartin?
Aye.
Mayor Barnett?
Aye. That passed unanimously. Thank you, everyone. And thank you all. Item 7 on our agenda is our manager's report. Dave, over to you.
A couple things on the agenda, but let me just start by thanking the council for all their work, not only in the comprehensive plan, but guiding DG. The double duty that Commissioner Gilmartin mentioned earlier is the council served not only as the final decision maker, but as the steering committee. So thank you so much for undertaking all that work. Your staff and the consultants really appreciate that direction and the extra effort. I will also call out, while there are many, many teammates and a lot of roles that played significant parts in this, I just wanted to thank Stan Popovich while he's here in person, as Jason Zawilla did. He was our Hercules in the Herculean effort. So, way to go, Stan.
Good job, Stan.
And with that, we'll move on to the published agenda. We'll start with a further discussion of the evaluation and potential improvements to the intersection at Washington Street and the railroad tracks. And here to present updated information on this topic is our Director of Engineering, Scott Vasco.
Thank you, Manager Fieldman. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're going to do a brief recap and some additional information on the Washington Street Railroad Tracks intersection study. So staff originally brought this item to you guys on June 3rd to discuss the study, and we found out that mostly the intersection works well most of the day. We presented the information at TAP, and then you guys requested some information regarding a signal at that intersection. After that meeting, staff did hold a meeting with a couple local partners, the ICC rail team, BNSF Railroad, and the Metro Commuter Rail System. And it was determined that signalization would require further study to understand if we could do that there. And then a couple of the impacts were full-time operation, so we can't have the signal operate at certain times of day. It would have to operate with the trains. We feel like that would be, we'd have some violations in the area with people not following the signal if there's no traffic there and it's a red. We also looked at queuing on the additional streets. We looked like there'd be some unintended queuing by the signal. And then some of the other things we looked at, the study would enhance probably 2 to 3 years to do. There'd be additional permitting required through the ICC, BNSF. And then when we looked at the cost for a typical signal were about $350,000 to the signal. With the implementation of the railroad tracks, we're looking at about additional $150,000. So we'd be at about $500,000 to do the signal. So we went ahead and we looked at the intersection again. We have a couple recommendations. The recommendations would be add railroad crossing pavement markings on southbound Washington. We would also add a stop bar on southbound Washington north of the tracks. We would add some additional 2-foot detectable warnings at the tracks. And then we would also add some pedestrian warning signs ahead, and as well as railroad crossing tracks ahead signs, and then also looking at doing some lighting in that area. And then with all those improvements, we would continue to monitor the intersection and see if we could do anything to better improve the intersection. So with that, I'll open up to questions.
So what staff is looking for here is just general concurrence from the council. Unless there's objections, we would take the steps as outlined by Director Vasco.
I just have a simple, probably stupid question, but you highlighted the word detectable warnings as opposed to just a plain warning. What's a detectable warning versus a warning?
So detectable warning are the that you'll see at intersections where you're crossing. It's tactile, it's bumpy. That kind of, it's a panel, 2x5 panel. Yeah, usually it's for blind folks. You can feel like you know the intersection's coming. Okay. That's a detectable.
Thank you. Didn't know.
Mike?
Yeah, I'll just say that I support the staff's recommendations on this. I think that given the potential cost and long time frame with the signaling sort of idea, this is a logical sort of first step, right? And these are improvements that we can make in the short term. And knowing that we're going to continue to monitor, I think it makes sense to kind of do this as a first step, see where we land. If we still feel that there's a need for more attention, then we evaluate and do more. But I don't know about any of you, but I don't have $350,000 to $500,000 in my back pocket right now to do this, and knowing as well that even that is, I don't know that there's any confidence that that's actually going to solve the problem, right? So I like this proposal as a first step and potentially last step, hopefully last step. That's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Leslie?
Yeah, so with regard to this recommendation, I agree, given the fact that all of the railroad safety professionals don't recommend it think it makes sense not to do it. But I did, when we have our staff calls, ask if we had also discussed some of the other recommendations that the transportation folks, the consultants had made, which were the extended fencing, the extended curb, landscaping, the changing the crosswalk configuration, and from what I understand, it was kind of a mixed bag. So it was some folks recommended it, some didn't. And I know that I was in the minority, so it won't move forward. But I do, again, want to state that I would be in favor of potentially trying some of these out, figuring out if there was a way that we could potentially test out an extended fencing and seeing kind of what that would look like, and seeing if we could direct, even if we could direct the majority of people to go the direction that we want them to go. We know that not everybody is going to do what we want them to, but even if the majority of folks would go the direction that we were directing them to, it could potentially be a safer intersection. So I just wanted to put that out there again. But I do agree with what was presented here. That is all.
Mark?
Thank you, Mayor. It's unfortunate there's no complete solution, but I appreciate all the work and effort that's been put into trying to come up with a solution that will ameliorate the situation. As I shared with staff earlier, number one, I support the current staff recommendations. I think that those all make sense. Number two, I agree that we need to evaluate and revisit, whether it's in 6 months or whatever time frame makes sense, how those are performing, and then potentially reconsider some of the other options that were discussed. I don't want to rule those out as never doing them, so I agree with Commissioner Stowski if you get there, but let's see how these go. And frankly, third, I realize that there's potentially a high price tag, but I also have the impression, please correct me if I'm wrong, that the signalization option is based on initial investigation. It would require further investigation. I would support continued investigation of that option, because while I understand it could be expensive, it might take time. There might be some hurdles to overcome. We are visionary and we come up with solutions all the time, and I realize there are other agencies we have to work with. I appreciate all that, but I would be in support of continuing to explore that in a reasonably diligent fashion, because it is a big safety issue. And so I don't want to abandon that. I mean, don't throw this back at me, but what price safety to some degree? I know that will be thrown back at me, but I don't want to just abandon that. I mean, let's continue to explore it. And again, maybe in 6, 9, 12 months, we can see what we come up with. We've fixed tougher problems than this. Thank you.
Tammy?
Thank you. I like that this is a work in progress. I think that's great. And I wonder if there's been any, I hate to use the word predictions because that sounds kind of mystic, but if there's been any idea on whether commuting traffic is going to increase to the city in the near future? Is it leveled off post-COVID? And I think those are going to be important things to look at as we continue to address whether this is just going to get worse. Is it going to level? Is it going to get better? And so I think keeping this as something we constantly evaluate is a good idea. And if it does get worse, then that's the time to bring up Leslie's suggestions.
I agree with everyone up here, though. I think this is a really good first step. And I do think we should put something on the horizon to reevaluate, if it's in 6 months, a year, to see how these changes have actually, if they've made, if these changes have had any significant effect and what traffic is like. And again, this is a very difficult, we're talking about 5% of the time it's a problem. So trying to make this perfect is not an easy task. And also keep looking into signals, the possibility, what we could do with that, but I'm in support of this.
Chris, you got anything on this one?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I won't repeat what's been said, other than to say I too support staff's recommendations and the idea of reevaluation as we look at this. I would just add, one question I had was, how long before this might be implemented? And the reason that I asked before maybe get the answer is just, is there a difference between warmer weather commuting and the volume of people versus when it's in the middle of winter. And if we're looking, 6 months from now and it's the dead of winter and we're saying, oh, look at what is all the good it's done, when we're not really looking at apples to apples comparison. So I would be first, that's sort of one question.
Yeah, for the improvements, we could do the striping with our striping contract we have right now, so it'll get done this fall. Signage we could do with our in-house PW crews, so we can get those up as well. The lighting would be a bigger project, probably be a capital project, and then the detectable warnings we would have to probably do in the spring with our sidewalk program.
Okay, so the full effect of these changes probably couldn't start to be evaluated until the spring. So just something to keep in mind. I know we were thinking about trying to keep a close eye on this, but it's going to be a bit before we'll be able to measure what we're seeing there. I agree with Martin on the signal thing. I think there are some complications. One of the things that wasn't mentioned, but that I think I heard, was just the inability to sort of customize the timing of that. So we've got 2 times a day when perhaps that signaling might be needed. It sounds like there's policy or rules about being, turning that sort of on and off. So that to me makes it a little trickier. I think in my head, I had this idea of that only operating in its full capacity during those busy times, but it sounds like that's just perhaps not an option, which makes the signal a little less effective in my mind to try to pinpoint and solve for this. But I don't think we should stop looking at it. I'm not opposed to the fence either, a temporary solution. I think there's a lot of things I think we just need to keep an eye on this, but I appreciate all the thought put into this, the work with the consultants. I also appreciate the residents who have sort of brought this to the forefront for us. I think there's been a lot of input from some residents around this, and I think these are some good first steps, and we'll see where that takes us. So I'm looking forward to seeing them implemented, and hopefully seeing a safer intersection there at Washington, the tracks. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. How are we measuring improvement? So we do what we think we're gonna do. It sounds like the staff recommendation is okay with everybody then, and we look at this in 6 months or 8 months or 12 months. How are we measuring that it's improved?
Yeah, so we'll start by taking a look at the same data that was looked at the front end when the consultant came in. So crash data, volumes of users, pedestrians, vehicles, train riders, those things. That's the basic things we look at in most traffic studies. We use the information that was collected by this consultant as a baseline. We also have some information that was done before these improvements were made. So we'll look at all those things.
Well, that's the data, but what about that data would change? It doesn't maybe have to be sorted tonight, but what about that data would change that would say to us, we've improved this? Hang on a second, Martin's about to come out of his chair.
Some of it's anecdotal as well.
That's kind of that's sort of my point.
Because we have some video of how it
Yeah.
functions now, which was part and parcel to the analysis completed by the consultant. So I think observations through video would also be part of the evaluation.
You wouldn't have cars backed up on the tracks waiting for pedestrians to cross.
Correct.
That would be the way to measure.
Except that's probably still gonna be there. Yeah, I
But
guess.
that's how you would tell that it's
Right.
working.
Yeah,
If it doesn't work, then we're back at the.
yeah.
So I guess what I'm doing here, guys, is kind of intentionally being a little bit obstinate, because I want to manage our expectations. This intersection is horrendous from about every which way. This is the second or third iteration since you and I've been sitting up here. We still don't like it, so we're going to change it a little more. I suspect we're still going to not like that. There will still be people who pull into the yellow place because they feel like they got to hurry up and get out of the way, even though they can't get across the tracks. There are still going to be pedestrians that run every which way. And then residents that come and say, did you see the person who almost got hit on the tracks and the pedestrians going every which way? The light thing is super attractive to me, and I'm encouraged to hear that we don't necessarily want to just walk from that. Martin and Chris were probably the most vocal about that, and I fully support the idea that we would continue to pull that string. I don't know if it's doable, none of us do. But if we got to a situation where we were able to control traffic in such a way that no cars moved till pedestrians were cleared, now we've made a significant difference. We've got, I think, some actual improvement in queuing as a function of the new arrangement or the most recent arrangement. And you said what price safety? I'm happy to live with some queuing that stacks back up again if we ended up with a situation like that. And as far as the operation all the time, I think, I think I kind of think that's insignificant. I really do. We're talking about it's a little more queuing in a spot that 18 months ago had a ton of queuing. So I'd like us to make sure we keep pulling that string in a meaningful way other than in a year. Let's look at it and see if we got anything. We should be making some progress on what reality looks like over that time. Okay. All right.
I was going to say something more, but all good now. Thank you.
Thank you for that direction. We will keep the council and community posted as we undertake those efforts. Thanks, Scott. The next item on the agenda under the manager's report.
We will allow for comments at the end of the manager's report.
The next item on the manager's report published agenda is further discussion of long-range planning. Tonight we'll be continuing with our long-range planning efforts, and we'll be focusing on financial-related key trends and issues. As a reminder, our long-range plan is a combination of strategic and financial planning. It allows us to undertake strategic decisions with our financial condition in mind. The long-range plan includes strategic goals. It identifies key trends and issues affecting our future. It also includes strategies to address those key trends and issues. And finally, it does include the priority action items that Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit was just mentioning, which serve as this council's 18-month work plan. And in the years that we welcome new village council members, we also include a governance discussion, which is happening concurrently. The long-range plan is a multi-meeting process that takes place throughout the summer. Here on the screen, you can see the multiple meetings mentioning we're right here in the middle on August 5th with this conversation highlighted. And for those of you familiar with our flight analogy, the long-range planning takes place at the 30 to 40,000 foot level, and it really drives day-to-day operations. It drives policy decisions from this council, and most importantly, it drives the preparation and management of annual budgets as we move down that flight analogy. So during 3 previous meetings, staff presented and the village council discussed 6 key trends and issues, all of them with a financial component. They are shown here on the screen. In all 6 issues, the primary objective, quite simply, is making sure that we have sufficient funds to provide the services and the infrastructure as directed by this council. All in the lens of facing economic uncertainty, concerns about flattening revenues or declining revenues, and ever increasing expenses. So we had a long discussion that sort of framed up each of these 6 and potential strategies to address them at 3 previous meetings. What I wanted to do tonight is really hit on the update to the draft long-range plan report. This is the update to the strategies and solutions based on village council input, not only at 3 meetings that happened right here in this room, but with individual follow-up with each and every council member. We are proud to report that the updated strategies and solutions, as shown in the report, address all of the 6 key trends and issues that we just outlined. The updated plan calls for the generation of up to $4.6 million in enhanced revenue, and it allows for further revenue enhancements as directed by the council. A key component to the update to this plan is its flexibility. All the numbers I'm about to go through are really just targets and suggestions that you'll see in the first draft of a budget. But it'll be up to the council and future councils to actually pinpoint those numbers as part of the budgeting process, not only for FY26, but multiple budgets that follow. The key components of the updated plan, number one, the biggest component of this, it continues to be the planned increase to home rule sales tax from its current rate of 1%, going up to 1.5%. That would generate in total an estimated $4.4 million per year. Here's another change, considering increasing the hotel tax from its current rate of 4.5% to 5.5%. Is now part of this plan. That would generate our best estimate of about $200,000 a year. This plan also calls for consideration of adjustments to food and beverage tax, or electricity or natural gas tax in the future. So in the future, it could mean FY27 budget. It also could mean mid-year adjustments and FY26 should that economic uncertainty turn negative and we are concerned about our financial sustainability. As far as the uses of those revenues, these are just ideas and targets that you'll see if the council approves this plan, reflected in the draft FY26 budget. We think about $600,000 a year for general fund operating expenses to make sure that we continue to provide the services desired and directed by this council. About $500,000 could be used in supplement to the property tax levy for required contributions to public safety pensions. This would have the effect of lowering the increase to the property taxes for these purposes. This would also include up to $2.6 million for guiding DG projects, the comprehensive plan projects, the other 3 plan projects, and other new capital projects, things like gateway signs, those types of things. And as directed, this is a further change by this council, a concern for positioning ourselves for continued maintenance of all of our village facilities. So we're targeting $700,000 a year for those purposes. And as a reminder, we'll have more certainty on that in the coming months with the completion of a facilities condition assessment report. So we hope that the council and community can see the journey we've been on and the direction that the council has given us. We just wanted to emphasize that this would be the starting point for a discussion that would be reflected in the FY26 proposed budget. We think the flexibility is the key point of this plan. With that, we're happy to answer any council questions.
Thanks, Dave. As a reminder, we have an HRST deadline, right? Which is what?
That would need to be on file with the state by October 1st. So if the council gives us the head nod and general direction on this, we'd work with the legal department to have an ordinance ready in early September to make sure we could have that increase approved, effective January 1st, but filed by October 1st.
Is there any such deadline on the hotel tax, or is that all internal? Okay. All right. I'll just start with this. I think we've had, what'd you say, Dave, 3 meetings? Been a lot of really good discussion that's gone a lot of different ways. I think that's been healthy for everyone. And I think I can see things in here that appeal to everybody, which means staff did a good job of listening. This is, something that I think we ought to say is the course we're going to take forward as we start into the next part of LRP and high priority action items. Anybody feel differently about that? Certainly comment. Mike?
No, I fully support this. Excellent job. Tough decisions, right? I mean, and for those following along at home, I mean, this was, this council's decided rather than borrowing a lot of money and then increasing taxes to pay for that borrowing, we'd rather adopt a pay-as-you-go sort of approach. We're looking at public safety pension increases from, projecting out for the next, 17 years or whatever it is, 15. I mean, approaching $1 million a year, like we can't just pull that out of, once again, not in my pocket. So, this is a way to help soften the blow, smooth, like we like to say, to our property tax paying residents, so that that we can spread this burden out a little bit more and not have it be as much of a burden on our residents. And so I think creative, smart. I really like this approach, and I thank all of you for the good work on this and the staff as well. Thank you.
Chris, do you have anything?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I am less enthusiastic, but I also share that this seems like a good consensus and in what all of us, I think, kind of come together. I will just say that, and I agree, the discussion was great, and I think we as a council should be committed to having this type of discussion each year. I think we have learned a lot. I certainly have, and I just think it's important. We've had some good years, which I can relate to from a business standpoint that can sometimes cloud some things. Not that it has in this case, but it can. And I think it's important for us to be looking at all of these things, opportunities each year. I will say, where I'm not super pleased is that this is sort of one big lever that we're pulling to try to solve this. And I would just hope, and we'll try to work with you all in an effort to try to look at ways we can set up a number of dials. And I know this gives us the opportunity and the flexibility to do that in the future. But I think it would serve our residents better to have a number of dials that we're tweaking in small ways rather than sort of jumping into some of the stuff. So I will support this. I do think this is a sound approach generally. But I think I want to continue the discussion with all of you and the community and staff on how we can, again, create a mechanism or mechanisms by which we are tweaking rather than sort of big lever pulls. So with that, I will support this, and I do appreciate the conversations we've all had and staff's effort to encapsulate that into something we can move forward with. So thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Leslie, go ahead.
As many have stated, there have been a lot of meetings about this and a lot of concern given a lot of economic uncertainty. Again, I also agree. I am comfortable increasing the home rule sales tax. I am also in favor of increasing the hotel tax from 4.5% to 5.5%. And originally, I was a little bit uncomfortable with increasing some of the others, electricity and natural gas, but after having some conversations with folks and thinking about our current economic climate with the potential for cost of goods to be increasing even further, I am definitely comfortable with having more of those conversations with the electricity and natural gas, especially given we are pretty much at the bottom in DuPage County. So I agree with Commissioner Gilmartin. Hopefully we will continue to have these conversations since we do have some flexibility with those, and agree in support of what is here in the summary. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mike, go ahead.
Just want to say any enthusiasm that I expressed was for arriving at, I think, a good solution here, right? Because I don't think any of us are excited about having to raise taxes. And then in terms of the additional dials, I think that it's best to keep that option available, right? Like this is a great place to start. Let's see how it goes. As we've shared previous, we have projections about how this may work, but it's a best educated guess at this point in a time of a lot of uncertainty. So we don't know for sure if raising the HRST is really going to generate the 4.4 million or not, right? It possibly would generate more. It possibly would generate less. And so knowing that we have these additional dials to turn, if and when we need to, I think is great to have in our back pocket. So that's all, Mayor. Thank you.
I thought the headline was going to read Commissioner Davenport likes taxes. No?
That'd be your headline.
Anyone else? Okay, Dave, you have anything else in the manager's report?
Thank you for that direction. We'll just say that long-range planning continues. Of course, this is just one key component, priority action items, further governance discussions, and then we'll wrap it all up by September. Staff has no further presentation in the manager's report.
Okay, audience comments on what they've just heard in the manager's report.
I'll go backwards. The budget presentation. For those of you who are concerned about affordability, I think that that taxes on utilities and life services should be break even. You should not be making a profit on somebody's water bill or somebody's light bill or somebody's gas bill. So for that, and I think you should be raising food and beverage tax to waylay the cost of the improvements that you're going to make downtown and to the train station and plazas. That seems to me to be fair. I will say, outside the notion of just general improvements, I will say that looking around the plazas this weekend and going to the market, they do need a facelift. So I think that's a worthy project, and if it can be afforded. And in uncertain times, call for conservative approaches. With respect to the Washington Street crossing, which of course you knew I would be speaking about, Mayor, I think that your budget, your barometer of success and improvement is Janet happy? Or how happy is she? Or not happy? But that might be a good indicator. The current and I do have some questions about the things that you propose, but the current presentation confirms that the council took a very bad situation on Washington Street, and instead of making a one-time only opportunity to make it better, you created an unmitigated disaster that cannot be fixed. And some people here are among those. Your experts can't agree on what can and should be done. And the rationalization that the reconfigured intersection works well most of the day ignores the fact that it does not work many times a day as trains go through. It does not address how the intersection does not work at night or in inclement weather, rain or snow. And there's way too much going on at this intersection, and as the corner lots and Lot 2 are being developed, it's only going to get worse. I don't understand the stop bar at the north side of the tracks at the platform crosswalk. Are cars supposed to stop there even though there is no sign there or pedestrian, and maybe there's not a pedestrian crossing? Stopping at that bar will render any northbound traffic that wants to turn left on Warren unable to see around the cars. The sign at the stop sign at the north side of Warren says oncoming traffic does not stop. But it does if there's a pedestrian there or if there's a crossing bar there. So it's inconsistent with what the actual directions say. There are three things you could do, though, I think, to make this better. Not acceptable necessarily, but better. One is eliminate the east-west crosswalk at the platform to make this intersection the same design as Main Street and Forest Avenue. Northbound traffic should have the right-of-way that it does at the other two locations, and that the sign existing says that northbound traffic does not stop. To eliminate the planter on the east and south sides of the curve that's part of this new program. Pedestrians walk in the street because the lip of the sidewalk is too narrow and the lane behind the planter is only single file. I followed a couple walking around the curve on the way here, not using the crosswalk, the diagonal crosswalk, to go up into and around, just right around the street. I honked at them. They weren't very happy, but that I'm not sure about how the fencing would go. I don't understand graphically what that would do to corral people, but the planter creates a single file that the pedestrians are just not going, they just don't pay attention to it and they walk in the street. Pedestrians walk on the north side of that curve too, but there's nothing there that it seems to me to be done about that. It's just the way it is. The third thing you can do, and I think this is part of your program, but it may not be dramatic enough, is flood the area with light after dark. Ignore whatever light protective darkness protective light program they're going to have. Drivers need to be able to see approaching pedestrians, and especially if they're slightly buzzed or carrying golf bags, as they might be when that restaurant opens. If they can't be seen until they step into the crosswalk, it's too late. You have to be able to see peripherally the movement so that you can adjust what your driving tactics are to cross the street and cross the tracks. So thank you for thinking about it. We'll see how it goes. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. You all seem like very nice people. Seems like you put an awful lot of effort in everything, which is great. And you seem to truly care like I do. We were talking earlier on, and the thing that I cared about most was that Grant Street. And I know that the mayor, you said, we're not looking to do that. And I think Commissioner Tully, you said, we're not looking to do that. And I think Commissioner Davenport, you said we're making an amendment so that we're not doing that. So if we're really not doing that, I'm hoping we can get rid of that blue line on page 71. And if there's any words that say that we were doing it, maybe get rid of those words. That's really it. So hoping that you can do that. Thank you, though. Appreciate it.
Others? Okay. Council member reports. Item 8 on the agenda. This is an opportunity for council members to report out on goings-on in the community, or there are things they think residents should know about or each other might be interested in. So we'll start with the voice in the cloud. Chris, what do you have?
Thank you, Mayor. No report.
Mike?
Thank you, Mayor. No report.
Rob?
No report.
Leslie?
Just a reminder that the Grove Foundation Golf Outing is Saturday, September 6th. We're about halfway full, so if you are interested, please make sure that you check it out. Thank you. That is it.
Thank you. Tammy?
Boring report. I've been walking around the area and 2 construction sites, the work on Dunham that's replacing the non-handicapped accessible triangle area, and the work on Jefferson Path, and everything looks great. The workers have been very considerate. They're taking good care of the neighborhood, and it's just kind of nice to see our work put in progress. So if anyone's driven by, I think it's gonna be a nice addition to the community.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thanks. Martin?
Thank you, Mayor. There are 324 days left until Rotary Growth Fest. I have nothing else.
I have no report this evening. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Mayor Barnett, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all and have a good night.